This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for March 20th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition of the podcast, a March Madness Feel Good Friday, the first day of spring Feel Good Friday. And today's our last day. Hopefully, we're going to watch some weekend basketball. Penn, unfortunately, could not hang with Illinois, and really no shame in that game. 105-70, they lost. They hung tough early. They got down, came back. We're down 10 at halftime, but Illinois, just from top to bottom, was just a much, much bigger team, and kudos to their coach. They had a good game plan. You could tell they essentially, and I guess that's the way they played all year, but essentially said, we're going to just bully the Quakers, and that's what they did. But good season for the Quakers, winning the Ivy under first-year coach Fran McCaffrey. TJ Power, again, is going to be a star. He was a little under the weather, so I don't know if that factored into it. He seemed a little out of sync early, but shout out to the Penn Quakers. Good season for them. So it comes down to Villanova men and Villanova women. Villanova men will play Utah State today at 4:10. And then the women, who are the 10 seed, will take on the 7 seed Texas Tech. So as much as a Temple guy as it does to pain me to say this, let's go Wildcats. Not putting the V's up, though. I refuse to do that. And shout out, another Philly tie. Shout out to Phil Martelli Jr. VCU, they came back from 19 down to pull off the upset of North Carolina. Phil was in the crowd. Not, again, pains me to say this as a Temple fan, but good win for Phil Martelli Jr. I really do. Again, it pains me to say this, but I really enjoy the way he coaches and his style. It's the kind of coach I would love to see Temple get a little bit fired. Nothing against Adam Fisher. I just don't think he doesn't have the same fire. And those kids, whatever he's selling, they're buying. So shout out to the Martelli family, even though I don't like to say it. And VCU is the Rams, by the way, the VCU Rams. So shout out to them. But we will be rooting for the Wildcats this afternoon. And shout out to you if you're going down to the games. We got 4 big games in the tournament today down at the X starting around noon. Virginia takes on Wright State. Then it's Tennessee, Miami, Ohio. Looking forward to seeing that game. Miami, Ohio, I want to see really if they're all the hype that it's out there. I mean, they had one phenomenal season, and apparently because of the way, and I hate this, but the way that everything is set up now, none of the big schools want to play teams like Miami, Ohio, especially in Miami, Ohio, but even on neutral sites. And it's a shame because I think the big schools are afraid of these smaller schools. We used to see it for years with John Chaney, even back in the day at Temple, where Chaney was like, I'll play anytime, anywhere. And none of those teams, or very few of those teams, I should say. Tom Izzo, to his credit, would come to the Liacouras Center. But obviously, like Duke, I think Indiana came to the Liacouras Center too. But Duke is the main whatever as... Sorry, I'm going on a rant here, but it always had to be at the Wells Fargo Center, blah, 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 blah. I want to see Duke come to the Liacouras Center and see how those kids play. But I digress. And then UCLA tonight versus Central Florida, and then UConn versus Furman down at the X. So it's a huge, huge day for March Madness. Let's get after it. Speaking of madness, Now, I know it was the Sacramento Kings, but good win for the Sixers last night, 139-118 over those Kings out in Sacramento. Justin Edwards had 32, Quentin Grimes had 27, but VJ Edgecombe gave us a glimpse of what could be as he scored 38. And I feel like here's where we stand with the Sixers. I mentioned it yesterday. There's no way they're going to drop into a legitimate lottery spot. The only way they can get in the lottery now is to lose in the play-in tournament. But with Paul George coming back next week, I think Maxey is getting reevaluated at some point next week. Same with Kelly Oubre. Who knows with Joe, though. They're only a half game out of the 6th spot, which would get them a legitimate playoff spot, and only 2 games back of the 5 seed, which would give them a home. Or no, I guess it wouldn't be. It'd be 4-5 game. So, and again, if you follow the arc of the Sixers, this is, I'm already down here. This is where I start coming up. It's spring. Yeah, well, if this, if that. But it's something worth watching just because they're not going to be able to fall into one of those legit lottery spots. So why not get on board and enjoy the season despite the fact we're frustrated? And then, of course, Jarrett McCain is blowing up playing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's 2 thought processes with that. One is Oklahoma City is the best team in the league, so of course he's going to be able to be successful with the players on the court. The other line of thinking is Daryl Morey made a major mistake because, I mean, especially with these guys out, be great to see what he could do. Lots of talk about whether this is a Nick Nurse thing. I don't know. And here I go back down, slipping down the little ramp there, but who knows? Sixers out in Utah, winnable game on Saturday, but as they're looking to posture, I guess, at this point for playoff seeding with everyone coming back. And then don't look now, but your Flyers are red hot, 8 of 11, winning last night 4-3 in a shootout out in LA versus the Kings. Matvei Michkov and Rasmus Ristolainen both had 2 assists, but it was Michkov with the game-winning penalty shot in the shootout to give the Flyers the win. They're in San Jose tomorrow looking to win 9 out of their last 12. I don't know. Love to see some playoff hockey. I think of everything, playoff hockey is one of the best things around. Phillies got some good news from Zach Wheeler, which is, again, I've been talking so much about this, the starting pitching rotation, but he's going to start a minor league game on Monday. He's been throwing off a mound. Good to see. So likely could be by the end of April, could be back in the rotation, which is huge for the Phils. Union in action tomorrow night at home versus Chicago. Howie making some moves yesterday as well. Signed Damian Pierce, running back, to a 1-year deal, I guess to be the backup to Saquon. Not sure what that means for Will Shipley, who I guess for the most part, other than the NFC Championship game a couple years ago, has been sort of a disappointment. So we'll see. The other news, and this is an interesting one, it was reported that they restructured Jake Elliott's contract. Essentially, he lost $1 million, but they guaranteed the entire $5 million for this year. Lowers their cap hit, but I guess essentially if you're guaranteeing the kicker $5 million, that means Jake Elliott is going to be your kicker. And I'm not sure if I agree with that. I would have liked to have seen some competition, especially the way he kicked last year. But I guess they're going to put all their eggs in that basket and hope for the best. Not sure. Again, not sure if I agree with it, but Howie doing Howie things. Yesterday's trivia question, we talked about that 99-2000 Temple team and Ty F and Shine. And they said they had John Chaney was the coach of the year. Quincy Wadley was the A10 tournament most outstanding player. And Pepe Sanchez was the Atlantic 10 player of the year. I'm not sure why I thought it was Mark Karcher, but shout out to everybody who pretty easy for everybody, I guess, because he was the most recognizable player on that team. But thank you to everybody who reached out about that. Be sure to follow me on all social media at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Some cool opportunities coming up I'll start talking about next week, so stay tuned for that. But finally, a shout out to the Upper Dublin girls who are playing out in Hershey this evening, taking on Dallastown, looking to bring home the state championship. Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. It's March, baby. It's March. All right, March 20th. First, we're going to go back to 1954. And yesterday we were talking about the LaSalle Explorers being the defending champs and losing to Bill Russell and the San Francisco Dons. Well, in order to be the defending champs, you have to have a championship to defend. And on this day in 1954, LaSalle wins the national championship with a 92-76 win over Bradley out in Kansas City. They were down 1 at halftime and then exploded for a 50-point second half. Charles Singley led all scorers with 23. All-American Tom Gola, 19 points, 19 rebounds, en route to the most outstanding player in the tournament. He scored the most points in the entire tournament as LaSalle brings home the championship. It was the first championship in among the Big Five schools. However, in 1954, I thought about using this as a trivia question because, however, in 1954, the Big Five did not exist. The Big Five wasn't created until 1955. So that would have been one to trick people up. But LaSalle has the one title, and then Villanova has the other 3 for the Big Five. Fast forward to 1968. Again, more Wilt Chamberlain, but Wilt Chamberlain becomes the first center to lead the league in assists. He had 702. Averaging 8.6 per game, and essentially led the league in assists because that's what he wanted to do. And Wilt Chamberlain was that good that if that's what he wanted, that's what he was going to do. Did get a little bit of urging from Coach Alex Hannum, who encouraged him to pass the ball more and make them a more well-rounded team. But Wilt, by all accounts, his teammates corroborated it and said, hey, we need you to lead the league in assists. And he was like, I'm going to do it just because. He was tired of being called a selfish player. And the rest, as they say, is history. Fast forward to 1981, the St. Joe's Hawks beat number 5 seed Boston College 42-41. The Hawks were down 4 at halftime, but used tenacious D and patience on offense to spark that second half comeback and move on to the Elite Eight, setting up a date with the Indiana Hoosiers and All-American guard Isaiah Thomas. 3 straight tournament wins for the Hawks that season by a combined 4 points. So Jim Lynam's patience on offense, milking the clock because there was still no shot clock then, and just great defense is what led the Hawks to the Elite Eight that year. Fast forward to 1993, the number 7 seeded Temple Owls beat number 15 Santa Clara 68-57 to move to the Sweet 16. Aaron McKee had 20 points. Rick Brunson also added 20. The Owls would win another game and make it to the Elite Eight before falling to the Fab Five. I remember that game well. It was a Sunday. We'll talk about it more next week, but my mom allowed me to not eat dinner with the family because, you know, I'm a Michigan fan as well. Was rooting for the Owls that day, but Temple did lose to the Fab Five in the Elite Eight. But on this day in 93, they moved to the Sweet 16, beating the 15 seed Santa Clara 68-57. 2 years later, Flyers beat the Canadians 8-4 at the Spectrum. Eric Lindros with a hat trick and an assist. It was his second straight game with a hat trick. Kevin Dineen added 2 goals and an assist. John LeClaire had 2 goals. This was Lindros' MVP year, though, but back-to-back hat tricks. pretty damn impressive if you ask me. And then finally in 2016, Villanova beat number 25 Wisconsin 87-68. Jalen Brunson, Chris Jenkins, Ryan Archidiaco, and Josh Hart all had double digits as the Wildcats moved on to the Sweet 16. We all know how that season would end for them. All right, that does lead us into today's trivia question. And I tried to, it just got convoluted the further back I went. So I picked 1980, figure that's a good 35-year window. Or I guess now at this point, yeah. Doing some quick math here. I guess 50 years. No. Whatever. 45 years. Jeez. All right. Either way, 1980. So since 1980, how many consensus first-team All-Americans have come from the Big Five? I always like to give you a longer homework assignment over the weekend. So there are 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7 players from the Big Five were consensus first-team All-Americans since 1980. Who are they? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531 or the Discord channel. First link in the chat, or one of the first links in the chat. We've been having some good discussions over there, so come over to the Discord channel, talk some Philly sports, and let's just have some fun with the madness. But since 1980, what 7 players were first-team consensus All-Americans from the Big Five?
It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday, only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
All right, yes, it is Friday. Time for some Fridays with AI, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. Philly Goat has you covered for your Philly sports apparel needs. And yesterday when AI came by, we talked a lot about Ty Shine and just how he will always be Ty effing Shine to me, how it was one of my worst top 2. Sometimes, I'll be honest, I was that into Temple basketball when I was in school. I could definitely put this above the Eagles' NFC Championship game loss to the Buccaneers. But I guess just being in there, being so invested in that team, and then being in Buffalo, one of my most hated athletes. And it led to a discussion on the Discord channel. I said Mount Rushmore of my most hated opposing athletes of all time in Philly sports: Ty Shine, Joe Carter, Rondé Barber, and Bryce Pop. You know, the guy that sprained or tore Randall's knee up. So AI said, let's have some fun on a Friday. Let's take a look at the Mount Rushmore of hated villains or hated athletes for all of the major teams. And then for March Madness, we'll do a college one, of course. But for the Eagles, AI said Michael Irvin, Eli Manning, Des Bryant, and Victor Cruz. Forgot Victor Cruz killed the Eagles. I might have gone Emmitt Smith as one of the ones there, but hard to argue with that list. For the Phillies, Chipper Jones, Brandon Nimmo, Keith Hernandez, and Yadier Molina. Again, hard to argue with anyone on that team. I think Ryan Braun might go on there for me. I don't know why. Just he has a punchable face. But again, hard to argue that list. For the Sixers, Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, Marcus Smart, and Kobe Bryant, because he wanted to rip Philly fans' hearts out. I probably would take Reggie Miller off the list if I was making it and put Al Horford, because you all know how I feel about it. No chance Al Horford was not a mole, a spy, whatever you wanted to call it, for the Celtics that season. For the Flyers, Sidney Crosby, Scott Stevens, Ty Domi, and Patrick Kane. Again, hard to argue that list. I think Matthew Barnaby would deserve some consideration there as well. And then from the college perspective, any Duke player. I don't care who it is, especially as a Temple fan, seeing Duke always, for the most part, when I was in school anyway, it wasn't until a couple years later they beat Duke, but Duke always just, again, whether it was Carlos Boozer, Elton Brand, Christian Laettner, all of them, Bobby Hurley, Trajan Langdon, all of them. So any Duke player, I think, is a villain. And again, this is AI's list. They said Leitner. I tweaked it because I would say not Christian Leitner, any Duke player. Of course, Ty Shine, Patrick Ewing, and Kemba Walker. Although I think with Patrick Ewing, Villanova got the last laugh winning that championship. For me, I would add NIL in general because it has killed Big Five basketball, or Coach Calipari in honor of my favorite coach, John Chaney. I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to kill you. But what are your thoughts? Who belongs on the Mount Rushmore of all-time Philly villains for each of our teams? Anybody that AI left out should have been on the list. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest here on a March Madness Friday. And then finally, our Women's History Month Spotlight. Every journey starts somewhere. For these women, it started in Philly, whether it was on the playgrounds, the rec centers, high school gyms, college gyms, and it all led to the WNBA. And today, we're going to talk about one of the GOATs, Debbie Black. She was an Archbishop Wood graduate, went to St. Joe's, played under legendary coach Jim Foster. She won 2 Big Five championships, an A-10 championship. She was 3-time All-A-10, Big Five MVP. Also played field hockey and softball for the Hawks. She was All-A-10 in field hockey as well. After graduation, wasn't a women's professional league at the time, so went overseas. Came back when the ABL started. She was an all-star there. Had a quadruple double in the ABL, 10 points, 14 rebounds, 12 assists, and 10 steals. One of the few people in the history of basketball, both men's and women's, to have a quadruple double. She was the Defensive Player of the Year in the ABL. And when the WNBA came calling, she was a second-round pick in 1999. Again, it was near the end of her career, so she was only able to play 3 years in the WNBA, but led the league in steals, was Defensive Player of the Year in 2001, and then got into coaching. She coached assistant coach a couple different places with Jim Foster. She was the head coach at Eastern Illinois, but known for her toughness, tenacious defense, high energy. I've had many opportunities to meet her. She's such a nice lady, and really just one of the best college players from the area. Had a pretty darn good pro career as well. So from Philly to Hawk Hill, overseas, pit stop in the ABL to the WNBA, we celebrate the journey. And Debbie Black, today we celebrate you as our Women's History Month Spotlight. Let me know your thoughts on the Mount Rushmore of Philly villains. Just one of those things. I was talking about it yesterday, and because AI listens to everything, AI came in and said, hey, why don't we talk about that? On this day in 2016, Villanova moves to the Sweet 16, beating Wisconsin 87-68. 1995, Flyers beat the Canadiens 8-4. Eric Lindros with his second consecutive hat trick. 2 years earlier, Temple moves on to the Sweet 16, beating Santa Clara. St. Joe's moves to the Elite Eight on this day in 1981, taking down Boston College 42-41. Wilt Chamberlain ended up leading the league in assists on this day in 1968. It was the last day of the NBA season, so that's why we're including it today. And the LaSalle Explorers won the national championship, beating Bradley 92-76 on this day in 1954. I got one of the Letterman sweaters and a yearbook in my closet, courtesy of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. So pretty cool item to have. But like I said yesterday, you can't be the defending champ unless you win the first one, and they won it on this day. All right, we'll be back on Monday where we recap the weekend. Good luck to the Villanova men and women as they look to extend Big Five basketball for at least one more weekend. Hopefully your brackets didn't get too busted up. I actually had a pretty solid day. So the pool I'm in, it rewards you if you pick upsets. So I'm sitting in first place, which scares me. Usually I'm better, kind of lurking down a little bit, being the guy chasing the leader. But I was helped out because I had Texas and High Point. So those bonus points certainly helped me out. Hopefully the momentum continues. I went 13-3 with my picks yesterday. Should have known better than to take Penn. Could have gone 14-2, but got a little bit caught up in the TJ Power thing. So hopefully your bracket's not busted. And if it is, root for the madness and the upsets. Because the year that Villanova won, I had Michigan State winning it all. They lost on the opening weekend. And I was like, all right, I'm done. But because the way the rest of the tournament played out, I had to root for Villanova to win the pool. And when Chris Jenkins hit that shot, won me a few $100s, but it was Villanova. Anyway, I digress. If you're going down to the games today, enjoy. Again, this is one of my favorite times of year. Happy first day of spring, around 10 or so this morning. Spring is here. Looks like it's going to be in the 60s today, so it's a good day to open some windows, maybe dust off the TV on the back porch, watch the madness in the nice weather. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for March 20th, 2026. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.